Beyond and Under with Bohdana Onishchuk. Peter Piper picked a bag of pickled peppers. Oh, hi! It's Beyond and Under with Bohdana Onishchuk, and we start now. It's always hard to start. I want to comment that. It's always hard to start. It's always hard to make a first step towards something that you find important and meaningful for yourself. And it is so for me with this show because it's really important for me and I find it meaningful. I find it essential for my development. And every episode, every time, it's so hard to utter the first word. And every time I do my best, I overcome myself to do that. But hopefully, I will be able to make it not so hard as it is now for me. Through the experience, through some wisdom, through some thoughts and work, it won't be so scary to me anymore. And yes, so today we will talk about radio. And to be more specific, I will tell you a little bit about enlightenment, a little bit about realization of how this all happened, how I even came upon that thought that I might do radio. I might have my show. I know for some of you it sounds so reachable. It sounds easy to reach. It's just radio. But remember, we put different meanings into different things because we have different values, we have different dreams, and we have different goals in life. And what might be a goal and the main purpose of my life might not be for you the same, and I'm pretty sure it's not. And that's why it might sound that, oh, it's just radio, it's easy, you just go and find something, or you just buy everything and do yourself, or you just find this and that and buy this and that. It's easy to talk about this. But as long as it's easy to talk about this, it doesn't mean that it's easy to do this. And in my head, it was not an easy talk, and it was not an easy do. So I couldn't imagine doing this easily, or I couldn't imagine reaching this easily. But still, I was looking for ways. I was always open for every opportunity that would come across my life. And then I would be ready to grab it because I knew that I wanted. So yes, we will talk about this realization. And when was that point when I understood, that I really might do this soon. And it's not that far away. I'm pretty close to that. It's not unreachable. It's not somewhere far away from where I am. It's just there. And this realization was mind-blowing. I was just, I will tell you more pretty soon, but now I just want to share the structure of this episode so you're clear what you're going to hear. And if you're interested, if you want to add something while you're listening, I don't know about you, but I do this all the time. I comment, I talk, whenever I'm listening to the podcast, to the radio show, or just watching something, a video. Quite often, I comment a lot of things. I talk with the characters, with the characters on the screen, or with the people whom I hear, and I'm trying to continue them, or I'm trying to give a feedback, to give my thoughts on the matter. So you can do the same. And The next one, the point number 2 in our structure is my story of getting into university. That was not an easy way. It was not an easy way at all. When I'm looking back and I'm realizing that it was so hard, I'm not really sure if I could do that again. It was so challenging, but of course not as challenging as it could have been, but it was quite challenging for me at the time. And I would not like to live through this again. It's around this level of stress, and it's not about stress, it's about different situation happening at the same time and me being put into certain circumstances. So yeah, it's all about this, but still I will share the story with you, because I was listening to the episodes of other people, not my episodes, to some podcasts and episodes of the show, radio shows of other people. And you know what I got? I got that thought that I'm not open enough, that my listeners are not really connected with me because I'm not honest, I'm not straightforward, and I'm not transparent enough. And I believe that I should be, because it's a book, remember, and the listeners are the readers. Just as we talked last time, the listeners are the readers. And this is really so. And I am the writer. So, and whenever I write, I describe in such a detail so many things and so many elusive things that we normally don't notice. But as a writer, I try to. Yes. And so my story of getting into university, which I find worth to share, because I understand that so many people, they might struggle with quite normal things, and nobody really shares this, because this is something so normal, so logical to happen, and it just another chapter of your life, another stage of your life. So nobody ever assumes or imagines that it might be challenging, as much challenging as any other suffering in life. That's why I want to share with you and to show you that sometimes we are coming through certain things, but we don't consider that it's worth to be shared, or worth to be taken into account, or worse, to be sympathized, because it's so normal, and everybody got into university after high school, or everybody, I'm talking right now from this perspective of living in my country, and in my country, it's in Ukraine. I'm from Ukraine, and it's not really common that you take something like a gap year, which I did. I'm getting a little bit more detail into this, but I'm going to do this later. So this is number 2, point number 2 of our structure, of our schedule for today. And the next one, point number 3, is I would answer the question that one of my listener named Sebastian asked me. I'm so happy because 3 days ago I just randomly checked the email, podcast email, and I was so surprised that somebody asked me a question, and it's a great question, and I'd love to talk more about this question and to answer, because that question was directed to me. I would try to answer, to give a response. So I feel so excited and proud that one of my listeners really responded to responded to what I was asking, because I was in the last episode I was asking, if you have any question, please contact me. I'm open to get to know my listeners, because every listener is a character, so we are writing the book together. Yeah, I'm so happy that I'm clapping my hands. You can hear that probably. The next one in our schedule is, sorry, I need 1 second. Actually, that's it. We have 3. And also, in the end, I will tell you a little bit more about Ukrainian language that I speak, which is my mother tongue. I will make you more aware of what it is, how it is a little bit more. I already shared that information in the first episode, but I feel that sometimes some information should be repeated and should be emphasized over and over again, because it's not like you're sitting with a pen and note. I highly doubt that anybody does that, and making notes of some information that pops up, because the information is, I'm telling you that it's going to be in the end, so you're not going to wait till the end and then note this. So I prefer to say it again about Ukrainian, what kind of language is that, and make some examples to you. And that's it. And a little bit more, one more thing is that who I am, and why, for those who are listening to me for the first time. And I just want to remind you who I am and why am I doing this. I think it's important to keep to the core, to keep to the main point, and to stay focused on what is the very, very motive and why am I doing this. This is very helpful, actually, not just for my listeners, but also mostly for me, because every time when I am telling you, I'm saying it out loud. Why am I doing it? What is the motive? What is the reason? And what am I trying to say here? Why am I trying to be heard? It's really, it reminds me, it really keeps me in a good shape for this program that I always know. So I find such an emphasis crucial. Find it crucial. So I already mentioned about a book. You're the listeners. I'm a writer. You're the listeners, which equal to readers. And we are writing the book together, because each of you is a character in the book. Each listener is a character. It's just the same as the reader. When you're reading a book, you're not just becoming the one who's always observing the characters, observing the situation, but sooner or later, you are the one who become the part of it. You become so closely connected with the book, with the situations, with everything, that you sooner or later feel like it's my book. I am in the book. I am one of the characters, or I see myself in one of the characters, or I see myself in many characters at the same time, or I see small aspects of myself in the characters, or I see somebody that I want to be in these characters, and thus you become the part of it. The minute you imagine that you are in that situation, and at first you think you're just observing, I'm not going to be part of it. The minute you do this is the point you become the part of it. It's inevitable. It just this way, because you cannot be there, observe, and not be a part of it. Because even if you just think you're not any of the characters, you're not anything that is happening there, and you're not related to that at all, you're just doing this for fun, it doesn't really matter. The book has different purposes. Even if you're observing, it's already a certain function. It's already a certain function. And this function serves for a certain purpose. It's already a certain function, and this function serves for a certain purpose. And you are becoming something, or you are staying something. It's never something passive, because sooner or later passive becomes active. So you want it or not, the minute you imagine yourself in the situation, you imagine yourself sitting across me, it is the minute you're becoming the part of it. And I really, really dream about the moment, about your thoughts when you do this. When you imagine yourself sitting in the same studio, in the same room with me, talking, answering, reflecting, observing. Doesn't really matter what you do. Doesn't really matter. It already makes you a part. Yes. Today we also will listen to some music, more music than usual. Last time I presented to you one song which I really love, Ukrainian song from the 70s, beautiful Ukrainian language and beautiful lyrics about love. Of course, as always, it's all about love. But I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm saying that it's an emotion, it's a feeling, and it is so worth to be as any other feeling. So not diminishing or behind certain feeling. But this episode we will hear more Ukrainian songs, and the reason why is because I'm a little bit. I'm not sick. Right now I am explaining myself what is happening with me. I'm not sick, but my throat is a little bit. I don't know. I can't speak very well. It's hard to explain. I can't speak very well, and that's why I need to take some time resting and not speaking, because today I have another speaking session, so to say, because that's something that I must do, and that's why I need to reduce the speaking time here a little bit. That's why we're gonna enjoy, it's not bad, we're gonna enjoy some beautiful music, some hits, meaning that it's popular music in Ukraine, some of them. And going to the first point, finally, I know it took me 20 minutes to tell you the structure, to give you the picture of what we're gonna talk today about. And yeah, I forgot to finish about the who I am and why am I doing this. So I say that I am a passionate writer, but also I do other things as well. And passionate writer, it's something that I strive to be and something that I started to be. But it's always a quite long way to the top. It's such a long way. So I say it now, and I feel so powerful that I can say this. But besides being a writer, a self-taught writer, I don't have a professional something, as I think many writers. I am a teacher, English teacher, and yeah, that's quite this, and a volunteer. Why am I doing this? Because radio is my dream. Well, it sounds really really shallow, but I would explain it this way, because I always wanted to do radio and to speak about things that matters to me and to create something so incredible and extraordinary that listeners become readers, that listeners become part of me, part of my show, part of whatever I'm speaking about, part of this program. So that was my point, to interact, to have that connection, despite the fact that I can't see you now, but I can feel you. Believe me, I'm talking about my listeners so much, so you can guess that I feel you. And I really wanted to become more professional in this, and that is what am I doing now. It all takes time. I reminded all the time. I remind myself all the time that it all takes time, and I get professional by practicing. So practice makes perfect. That was my point. Okay, practice makes perfect, and I think in the through practice I would improve, and I really want to improve in all aspects of radio. In all aspects of radio. Starting from my character, starting from how I present myself, how you feel me, how you hear me. Because I have no ideas how my listeners imagine me, how they feel me, how they hear me. I have no ideas at all. I can't dissociate from myself so much that I don't realize that it's me. I can't do that. I've heard some people can do this, but I can't. And that's why even if I'm trying to listen my podcast as if I'm not the one who's speaking there, it's really weird, because deep down in my heart I know that I am the one who's speaking. I know, and I'm, trying to analyze everything, and, this is not good, you can do this better, great self-critic in me, as in everybody. So I can dissociate so much to pretend that I'm just a listener. So I really want to improve this aspect, how my listeners feel me, how they feel spending time with me, because I don't have any ideas how you feel listening to me, how you feel in my company. Of course, I'm trying to be myself, and I am myself during my programs. I'm trying to be real. I'm trying to be just who I am, trying to deliver my values and deliver something that might interest you as well, through the prism of my character, of my personality, of my talents, of my skills. But you know what? You live and learn. You live and learn. That's the hard truth that sometimes it's really hard to swallow it for me. You live and learn. And so this aspect, another aspect is more like professional aspect. How good I can operate with words. How good I can operate with the language. Because sometimes I use terrible words. Sometimes I use inappropriate words, irrelevant words in a certain context, or I forgot the words. Imagine, I forgot the words. This is so normal, but you don't want to be. Everybody wants to be perfect. I know. Nobody can be perfect. And I won't be perfect, but I want to be best of it. So, of course. And, so that is the reason, because I want to become professional. And what is the level of professional? What is the definition of professional? I guess this is just something that I would put for myself out there. Something that I would decide for myself and I would define. Because I don't really know. There is of course there is a certain characteristics, but just simply to say what is professional and what is not, it's never like this. It's never black and white. I agree, sometimes it's black and white about certain scientific facts, but about so many things in life, so many truth in life, it's not black and white. About feelings, about abstract things that play such a huge role in our lives. It's not black and white. And for me, being professional in the field of radio hosting, it's not black and white. So yeah, so I guess I should define professionalism for myself and then strive for that. I don't see for now any other ways, but I find the way pretty I find myself pretty content with this way to define it for myself and then just follow it. Yes, and so finally we will start with our outline, and the first one, uh, the first one is how this radio thing came. I already told you the story in previous episodes about something why I wanted to do radio, what was the reason, what was the inspiration, and what was the motivation about all this, behind all this thing, and behind this what you're hearing right now, because now it's real. Now I can hear it. Now I can touch it on the computer, but imagine on the computer screen, I'm just touching it. Or now I can really own it. It's mine. So it's getting real. So how it all happened, I'm gonna tell you a little different story from what was in previous episodes. And so I'm starting. Attention, I'm starting. I really feel like I need to divide it into a really clear blocks. Sometimes I have difficulties with that. So a block number 1 out of 3 starting now. One early morning, I was on my way to my class. Outside was the fall in its fullest warmth and the year 2022. Walking down the alley near my campus in Ukraine, I heard beautiful to my ear music. Well, the music was acceptable, but with every step I was slowly immersed in the sounds. I don't know about you, but it were quite so for me that time. The music was okay, and as I was immersing into that atmosphere, into all the sounds, the music became beautiful to my ear. So I heard that music broadcasted on the university radio. I didn't know they had university radio. They had radio at all. The first thought that hit me was I must use that chance. I want to be heard. If I let this opportunity slip, just right out of my hands, what am I supposed to do with the lost opportunity? You tell me. I don't know. Regret? Or what? Maybe cry? Or what? Blame? That is the last thing I want falling upon my overthinking head. So I would prefer to avoid such a fall. And that's why I had such thoughts. And my slow understanding of what was happening was priceless. Listen, it was priceless because I stopped in the middle of the alley. It was a wide alley, and people around me all in a rush trying to be on time for what? For their life. And then I turned around, listened to the noise in the air, and I closed my eyes and I listened to the sounds in the air, to the music in the air, to the sounds of people talking, chatting, and to the sounds as well of the silence in my head. And I whispered to myself, this is the only way. And I put different meanings in this phrase. One of them is this is the only way. And one of the meaning is I can't say no to that dream, and I boldly refuse it to be tagged as a dream anymore. I don't want the tag dream anymore. I don't like these tags. And it's a plan now. So it's a plan now. I perfectly understand that everybody's question might be, actually, that was my questions. That were my questions, and I thought, oh, people gonna criticize me. Why? Because, it's not perfect. It's not good. Maybe it's not what they want. Maybe it's not hitting the spot. You never know. What is interesting for you is not not of course might be interesting for everybody. So that self-critic came out, and that self-critic in me was questioning, why did you want to be hurt so much? What do you have to tell? Why do you want to be hurt so much? What is your story? Why it's so special? Do you have a story at all? Your life, are you sure it's a story? There is nothing specific in your dreams and plans and episodes and structure. It's just, it's just some water poured on the floor. It's nothing specific. So that was the great self-critic in me that might spread his voice in other people who know or don't know me. We all make assumptions. We assume about everything and about everyone. Even if we don't do this openly, we do this deep down in our hearts, in our minds. I am trying not to do this, but I do this. I'm a human as well, and I do this. But every time I do this, I ask myself, do I want to be assumed about like that? And my answer is, of course not, because it's not true. That assumption is very, very rarely close to the truth. And so you never know until you get to know. And of course, there are always tons of questions, no matter what you do. And however, I find it the most miserable position when you say no to something that you yearn for. Coffee lovers or coffee addicts, you should know that feeling of yearning for coffee in the morning. You should know that feeling, just wanting to take a sip of your favorite cup of coffee, to be energized or whatever. So that is the yearning for I'm talking about. So I find it's really, really miserable position when you say no to something that you yearn for. It's not about coffee anymore, okay? Because I imagine to say no to coffee. No, you shouldn't do that as long as you feel okay. Because negative or doubtful question in your personal story overweight your potential or something you can't explain exactly, like reading some rules from the book. Wow. I want to be personal. If I do this, I'm going to be miserable because I won't do something that I yearn for. I won't do something that I desire because negativity, because doubtful questions overweight my potential or something that I explain clearly or something that I explain like reading a list of something from the book. So I really am happy that I didn't let myself to be in that position. I'm so happy. That I want to cry. That's true. I feel myself blessed, but also powerful. Powerful, not in the sense that I'm super strong and I'm unbreakable, but in the sense that I said yes to something that I yearn for, to something that I desire. And I decided not to be fooled by doubtful questions, by negativity, by stupid and offensive comments from others. That's true. I got them. And I decided not to be shut down by that, because I could have been silent as well. I could have been just sitting there and dreaming about all this thing, creating a big creative thing for me. But I decided not to do that, because I see what I want, and that what I want is clear in my head. It's just there. It's lying clearly, silently, quietly in my head somewhere. And yes, maybe I'm not clear enough or structured enough in my episodes, but what I want to get, what result and what effect I want to get on my listeners, I'm clear about that. My story of getting into university, block number 2. Block number 2, we started now, my story of getting into university. So I already mentioned in previous block, 2022, it was my freshman year. And it was September. I was walking down the alley to my class. I was fresh. I was new back then, full of energy, full of potential, full of great ideas, full of academic thoughts and ideas as well, which in the first semester I completed fully. But the way that past that struggle to that 2022 freshman year, what was it like? Yeah, so block number 2, how I got into university. That was a long path. After high school, I passed my exams, and you need to do that in Ukraine after high school, you gotta pass a series of exams, and based on the results of your exams, you can get into university. There are 2 possibilities of getting into university. One is to contract, when you pay money for your education, for your university, and another way is to get a scholarship, is to get a stipendium, and you don't need to pay for your university. And in addition, you also get a monthly financial support. So my goal was, of course, to get the scholarship, because I knew that my parents will not help me to finance the contract and paying for the university. And the other reason is not only that, but also if you pay for the university, it means that the results of your exams were not quite well. And I studied well, and I loved studying most of the time, and I passed my exams at a high score. But also I am an ambitious person, so I decided to get into the best university in Ukraine for the best programs, and I failed. I couldn't get it with my quite high results of the exams. I didn't feel like that was a great failure, but also I felt I learned a lot. And at the same day I got the results, I already made the conclusions, and I was like, that's a good experience though. That's a good experience though. I didn't know what I'm gonna do. I didn't want just to sit around and do nothing, of course. And I realized that I made mistakes, and some mistakes in that process, and I didn't have anybody to help me, or maybe it's better to say that I didn't ask anybody to help me. That's, that can be both ways. And so I didn't get into uni, into the universities that I wanted, into the programs that I wanted. So then I had no other way but to take a gap year. So that gap year was forced. That was the fourth gap year, because I never planned to do anything like that. I would understand, and I would do something like to take a gap year because I'm doing something, I'm involved in something, a year training or something. But just taking it and not knowing what to do, not having a clarity and not having a plan what to do, I would never do this. And believe what, I was supposed to do that. I was forced to do that. I had no other chance. Of course, I am now looking back, I understand that was such a precious experience. That gap year. And you can't even imagine how much I grew mentally, physically, in all aspects, spiritually. I grew so much in that 1 year. I would not do that if I was accepted to university. I wouldn't be able to grow so much. That's true. And I didn't know that back then when I got the news that I was not accepted to any of them. So I needed to take a gap year. And then I decided, okay, this time I have a year time. And then I didn't know what to do, and I moved to another city, and I lived with another person. So we shared a room. We shared a small apartment together. So she was studying, and she was older than me, and I was kind of just living, having some kind of a part-time job as a tutor, something like that. But also I got a plan. I thought, okay, meaning okay, if I didn't get last year because my results weren't high enough for that good university, for that the best university in Ukraine that I wanted to get into, then it means I need to pass the exams one more time this year, and get better results. That's so simple, logical. And I did, and I passed exams again, and I was nervous, but not as nervous as the first time. It's quite serious exams in Ukraine, okay? So you work hard, you prepare, and you're nervous, and then you got the results, But the second time I wasn't that nervous, because I knew I had experience already. And I passed them better than the last year, and that was very high results. So not the highest, but very high. And so the second year after my gap year, I applied again to the universities. I changed the programs a little bit. Oh, and that was so important, such an important year for me, that gap year, because I realized that I don't want to apply for the same programs as I did last year. I don't know what was wrong with me, but my mentality and my brain was not ready to make reasonable and pragmatic decisions. Sometimes it's better to wait and not to rush anything. Sometimes it's really better to do this. So next year, after the gap year, I got into the best university in Ukraine, and one of the best. It's more precise, one of the best university in Ukraine, and 2022, that was my freshman year, and I successfully started and finished the first semester, and then everything went down, everything broke. because the war started. 24th of February 2022. 2022, 24th of February. Full scale war on the territory of Ukraine. Russian attacked the whole territory of Ukraine and started their war. It's not invasion. It's not some softer word. It's the war in Ukraine. I'm not gonna get into this because I plan to make the whole episode targeted this topic, this sensitive issue for me, for sure. I know myself, and I know that it's a sensitive issue for me. And every time I'm trying to get other people to understand why so many people speak Russian in Ukraine, why you don't speak Russian, why your language, my mother language, the only one is Ukrainian, and why I don't speak Russian. So many questions, and I'm trying to create. I'm already preparing an episode when I want to get you into the trip when where I can show you what is the reason why we have so many people that speak Russian. Now, it's not many, but a lot of people who are abroad right now, who are not in Ukraine, they are just not giving a damn about Ukraine anymore, because now they have here and they are safe here to speak Russian. In Ukraine, they are not anymore. And if they are, it means that it's not a very good testimony about the country in Ukraine right now. So I'm preparing the whole episode about this, and I will be emotional. I will be strong. I will be strong-minded, and I will tell you the truth as much and as far as I can. I will answer the question why. I will answer the question how. Going back to university. Sorry, I got carried away. I always get carried away by that topic. It's sensitive, but for me, it is sensitive, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to talk about this. So after that, I got into uni. I was enjoying my freshman year, working hard, studying hard, and using every opportunity to get to academic conferences, to start writing some academic material. I was passionate about that, writing some academic material in the field of social work, because that was what I was learning. But that was my program, social international projects and volunteering. That was the name of my program. And I came and I already had experience in that field, because I was engaged in a lot of projects and volunteering when I was in school during my school years. So I already had an experience, and it was kind of it made a lot of sense, everything that we learned. So that was really helpful for me. And then every academic conference on the matter was really helpful as well. But I had plans, I had such a great plans of writing something very specific in that field. And hopefully I will finish it, because the beginning was there was a beginning of it. And the last one is block number 3. Block number 3, answering the listener's question. Question is from the listener's name, Sebastian. Thank you, Sebastian, so much for your question. It really encouraged me, and it made me so motivated to create more, to think more, to work harder. Thank you, Sebastian, so much. And your question, your question was, which substance give you help in a lack of power? One more time, which substance gives you help in a lack of power? That how the Sebastian formed the question. And so he's asking personally my opinion, which is going to be my opinion, just my opinion, remember? And I was thinking about this question and thinking more detailed and specifically about the words. So I Google the exact meaning of substance, and substance is the most important part of what someone has said or written. So what is the most important part? What are the most important aspects, parts of things that help me when I feel so powerless, when I feel so weak and I feel so powerless, and I understand that I lack power. So what is lack of power? Answer that. You can answer that as well, because for me it's something that you're blocked. You're blocked. You can't move. You can't walk. You can raise your hands. You can't fight. You can speak out because something is tightening you. Something is maybe suffocating you. What is that something is not always obvious, and it's not even becoming clear when you're honest with yourself. So there is some reason that limit you, something that limits you so much that it make you powerless, and you can help that. So that is the lack of power for me. So my answer is quite simple. The substance that helped me when I'm powerless is the words. The words. Yes, you heard it right. The words are either the words that I write, through which I describe something precious to my heart, and treasures and treasures that I found in other human beings. For example, how the mother is looking at her child while she's eating pancakes with sour cream and strawberries. Have you ever looked at the mother who's looking at her child who's eating pancakes with sour cream and strawberries? I know that's very specific, but imagine about something other. It doesn't really matter. Some certain human moments, and you're just observing. You're just looking at her, into her face, into her eyes, and you describe that. That gives me power. Or how the girl is trying on this, heavy, fancy leather jacket, looking at her reflection in the mirror, full of excitement and self-satisfaction, being so cool. Have you ever looked at somebody else and observed how they act, how they are, how they react? Because I saw that picture of a girl trying on this really cute, fancy leather jacket. It was so heavy. I thought, isn't that too hard to carry it around? But it was so cool. So I'm pretty sure that she kind of sacrificed how comfortable it is for the sake of beauty. And she's so satisfied. She's so powerful. And in that moment, she's so, she's the queen. She's the queen. Don't even try to sabotage her position, because she is. And when I observe all this situation, and then I understand that this is precious, and I describe that. I write about that, and this gives me power. They empower me. Or the words that are written by somebody else. It's not always the words that I write, but the words written by somebody else. They empower me as well. They made me feel how they do. And that is capable of doing things that seem so far away from me sometimes, and that is that lack of power. Lack of power is not only when you're limited, but when you see something that you want to touch, you want to grasp, but it seems so far away from you. The silence. That can sometimes speak with the thoughts we tend to hide in the far corners of our minds. The silence that speaks with the words, with the thoughts that we hide. Beyond and Under with Beyond and Under. I was with you and you were with me. Thank you for your attention, and I see you. I hear you. You hear me, okay? You hear me in the next episode.